Well, you've heard the news that pension funds across the country are gearing up for a very busy month as, of course, retirement fund members will start to inquire about their claims under the new amended pension fund regime, or the so-called two-pot system. Legally, as of today, millions of workers who are indeed members of pension funds can actually access a portion of their pensions from today as part of the Revenue Laws Amendment Act. Now, workers have been urged to make use of their financial advisors in order to navigate this uncharted terrain. And for more on this, let's now extend a very warm welcome to the CEO of Sanlam's Life and Savings, Mr. Anton Gildenhuys. I will also be later on joined by my colleague in studio, Mr. Tshepo, who will also give us further insight on the collaboration that, of course, SABC News and Sanlam has effected to give you more knowledge around how this two-pot system is going to work. Anton, we're very delighted for Sanlam's collaboration on this very important topic. So excitement coupled with a lot of uncertainty about what members that have actually entrusted Sanlam with their lifelong savings. Are all systems go and in place to effect the two-pot retirement fund system as of today or tomorrow for Sanlam?
Yeah, afternoon, Alicia. Thanks, and thanks for having me on this show. Yes, now all systems are ready. We're ready for this. Not today, as you correctly point out. From tomorrow, we expect calls from members of various funds. And remember, it's pension funds. We're talking about people with retirement annuities, people with provident funds. Pretty much everyone will be eligible for access to their two-pot savings.
Mm-hmm. Now, there has been a lot of emphasis on members actually acquiring, I'm sure you even heard on my intro there, Anton, acquiring the services of financial advisors, which we do know also come at a cost and that not every worker or member might have access to. But where should workers then go to further inquire about the two-pot?
Yes, you're right. I mean, we really believe that this should be seen as access to savings, but as an absolute last resort. These are savings that are planned for members' retirement. So if you absolutely need it, you are basically borrowing a bit from your future. You are going to access those funds to meet absolutely urgent needs. We really believe this is something that your financial advisors will be able to guide you. And where to access them, it depends on how you entered into a pension fund. So, for example, if you had a retirement annuity, typically you will have a financial advisor that sold you that annuity and provided financial advice, and they will be keen to provide advice on the two-pot regime and how to access it to you. If you belong to a pension fund through your employment status, the best would be to approach your HR department or your line manager to ask them about access to financial advice. Many pension funds have financial advice systems in place to give them financial advice, and there's a lot of information available on the websites of pretty much all reputable financial advisors and financial providers like Sanlam and so on.
Now, Anton, take us through your preparation phase ahead of the implementation of the system. As Sanlam, what have you factored and what are some of your expectations? Any teething issues that you are obviously anticipating?
Yes, no, it's been a whirlwind of preparation. In fact, it required quite a lot of collaboration with the authorities because there are many different departments involved. You get the FSCA, the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. They needed to approve the rule changes of the underlying pension funds. We've got the South African Revenue Service. I understand that you're speaking to the Commissioner just now. They had to implement a lot of system changes on their end. And then, of course, the financial services providers like Sanlam. We also needed to do system changes to be able to link to all these different providers to enable two-pot. In fact, a lot of the details were still being developed over the last couple of months, and in fact, there's still a couple of finer issues that are still being ironed out, but by and large, we are ready. Do we expect teething problems? I think so. We do expect here and there something that will be tested, which given the rapid implementation of two-pot, we had to really work for it. We couldn't test each and every system and all the links to all the different service providers. So there could be some teething problems. And then, of course, the other big question is how many people will phone in tomorrow? If every member of all pension funds phone in at the same time, it stands to reason that no service provider will be able to respond to all those inquiries. So my appeal will be, let it be for another week or two while you actually get financial advice on two-pot and give some time to the systems to settle down, because I think you are going to hit a queue if everyone rushes to the door tomorrow.
And Anton, I suppose a very important question as well is there any uncertainty around this two-pot system in terms of course, legislation or implementation?
No, I think we've got most of it all pretty much bedded down. The draft revenue laws amendment bill still needs to be approved by Parliament, so there's a little bit of uncertainty there, but I don't think it's theoretical uncertainty. I think for all practical purposes, we know what we need to do and we will be able to respond to member inquiries.
Very interesting indeed. Let's now bring in SABC News economics specialist reporter here, Mr. Tshepo Mongoai, to also shed some light into all these developments and excitement. So Tshepo, thank you so much for being with us in studio. So quite a lot has been, of course, shared between SABC News and Sanlam on this very issue of the two-pot system. But do you feel, judging from also the engagements that we've had with the viewers at home as well, doing other interviews, do you think people are well equipped with relevant information to know what actually happens as of tomorrow or today?
Yes, good afternoon. I must firstly just raise a hand of gratitude to Sanlam in terms of the partnership that we've had. It has really worked very well. I must say, they brought in expertise from the highest echelons of the company to come down and make sure that that expertise that resides in the company is shared across. And it was just not the issue of expertise, there were also resources that they shared with the SABC so that this becomes a real success. I mean, in many companies, sometimes you'd hear that the CEOs are not available, they've got back-to-back meetings, but they've actually ensured that their busy CEO are available, and not just to speak in English, but also in many other African languages. I mean, one of the challenges that we have as SABC because of our reach is that you often hear that a company saying, well, we do have people who are Zulu, but they cannot speak in Zulu. So unfortunately, there's no one who can help you. We have people who speak Sotho, but no one can actually speak that. But we had those people who are actually available to speak. Yes, we make sure that there is that repeated message so that people are very clear about that. We allowed people to ask questions about this two-pot system, and Sanlam made sure that their expertise, experts are available to answer that question. It was, sustaining this over 6 days from the 26th. It has not been easy. We had some challenges, but overall it was a huge success for SABC in terms of informing people. I mean, we cannot do it alone. This is just really a challenge to many companies to say, please, we need such collaborations because our resources cannot allow us expertise as newsmakers. We need that expertise that companies have. And if they bring that expertise, I mean, many companies complain that there is not enough information, they're trying to get messages across, and they're really struggling. But this is one classical example that it can be possible, it can be made.
Well, Anton is here. We can actually look at him on the video wall then. Anton, I mean, maybe just also comment on your collaboration with the SABC News. Why do you feel there was a need to actually go into this collaboration with SABC News?
Thanks, Elisa, and thanks, Tshepo, for those kind words. Sanlam's purpose is to empower generations to live with confidence, financial confidence. And to be able to live with confidence, you need to be empowered. And for that, you need to be educated. You need to understand your underlying solutions and underlying products. And this change into the two-pot regime is one of the most significant changes in the retirement savings landscape in South Africa in a very long time. And we believe it's so important to reach as many people as possible, to equip them, to answer the questions that they might have, and to give them some high-level guidance on how to approach this. And given the massive reach that the SABC has, it's for us a very obvious partnership to work with you. And thank you for your collaboration and being open to this and actually taking up the mantle of reaching everyone in South Africa. I mean, to give you an example, I'm quite concerned that this whole two-pot regime might actually result in an increase in scamming attempts, where people are going to start receiving SMSs, click on this link to enable your two-pot thing and so on. And we want to warn people that the only way that this works is through your financial institution you've got the underlying products with. Contact Sanlam or whichever financial services company you save through. Contact them directly. They will not send you links and so on to access Two-Pot. And through this platform, we can get that message out there.
Tshepo, is there any questions you want to pose to Anton?
I think we really are looking forward to this. We want to see how this is going. Of course, we know that the workers are not happy with a number of aspects, and I think this is probably going to be a moving target. I do probably expect that there may be some changes, some announcement along the way, until we can really understand the look and feel of what we're really dealing with. But I think, we'll be watching and we'll be reporting from tomorrow.
Absolutely. Now, we are hoping to get more details from SARS, just going back to Anton during the course of this bulletin. But from your perspective then, Anton, could this two-part system then have dire implications for the member under any circumstances, should a member actually choose to actually make those early withdrawals?
Yeah, I think there's no easy answer to that. I mean, by and large, savings are there for retirement, but it stands to reason. Sometimes there are absolutely urgent savings requirements, and it stands to reason that then some funds are made available to meet those urgent needs. I mean, if, for example, you stand to lose your house, but you've got some savings in retirement available, it doesn't help if those savings are then locked up until retirement. And this two-part intervention was designed to address this phenomenon of people actually resigning their jobs to be able to access their pension savings. We're actually quite excited about it. Yes, there are going to be some early leakages out of the system, but we're very excited about the improved preservation. The quid pro quo of this whole two-part regime is that people are going to preserve their retirement savings for retirement as much as possible. And that will grow the savings pool in South Africa. And not only will members benefit from that, but South Africa will benefit from that. I think it's one of the unique features of South Africa in the developing world, where we've got fully saved up retirement provisions in the private sector, which makes us quite unique. And not only does it take a lot of pressure off the fiscus and a lot of pressure off companies because we saved up, it makes a savings pool available in South Africa for the country, for investment into government bonds, into infrastructure. So if you look at South Africans' economics, we compare very, very well to most of the other emerging markets out there. And the root of this is this well-developed savings and retirement system that we have.
Tshepo, maybe just as a build-up to your question to Anton, I mean, let's talk about how significant an impact, of course, the initiation of the Tax Revenue Laws Amendment Bill has actually had on how the financial industry actually operates and how they actually engage with their clients.
No, that's quite important, because you look at it, initially the industry. Anton can speak at length about this. The industry was quite reluctant about this, because if you look at the savings and how the industry work, those investments that are the individual fund managers make are over a long period of time. There was an issue on the run on the insurance industry, because when you make resources available, it tampers with some of the investment methods that individual fund managers have put in place. So that members generally can actually get highest return on and some, of course, investments are risky. It's a fine balancing act to ensure that each and every member at the end of their working life actually gets something that they can take home and be able to live on for the rest of their retirement years. So the industry wanted a lot of certainty about a number of issues, and to ensure that the sector is actually sustainable going forward, despite having this, which was going to be a massive withdrawal at the same time. And I'm sure even for the industry, they're going to learn a lot of things from this particular experience, because we've never had anything like that in South Africa. So it's quite interesting. But what I wanted to ask Anton is that, should there be any last-minute changes that government propose, it could be on perhaps tax threshold, would the industry be able to implement that?
It depends. I mean, certain changes should be fairly easy to implement. So, for example, the process around obtaining a SARS tax directive. There's certain service level agreements between the industry and SARS to be able to get those tax directives. If those are changed, I mean, that should be fairly easy for the industry to respond to. Of course, if the detailed administration of the system changes, for example, how the two parts work and how savings are allocated to the parts or how transfer between pension funds work, that will take more time to implement. The nice thing about South Africa is that it's really a collaborative approach between industry and the National Treasury and the regulators. We haven't experienced this as a one-sided, thou-shalt approach, but much more of a what can you do? What is the best approach to do this? So I'll be very surprised if suddenly we get something from National Treasury or the government that changes it fundamentally. That will be to the detriment of members. This has been a good approach.
And Anton, I mean, in the case now where a person or an individual or a member in this regard has more than one retirement plan, talk to us about the rules in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually that's a good question. It was quite a debating point between the industry and the authorities. It'll be very difficult to have a consolidated view. So this will actually be implemented per plan. So even if you are in a, like for example, retirement annuity fund with more than one product, and that does happen at times, the two-part parameters will apply on the product level. So if you have various different savings vehicles, there's not the ability to look at it on a consolidated basis. Each product will operate the two-part regime on its own.
Very interesting indeed. So, Tshepo, you feel like we are getting there. We're getting the viewers to understand what is going on, because I think on our earlier engagement as well, I think I made it certain that Anton needs to point out that, of course, members should know that their monies will not be paid in into their accounts come tomorrow or this week. It's actually going to be quite some time before they actually see any monies in their accounts. So maybe talk to us about any qualifying criteria. Is there qualifying criteria? Is there a point where a member can then be ineligible to access some of the funds in the seed parts?
Yes, I mean, well, for starters, you will need to be registered with SARS and you will need to have a tax number. Because for us to be able to pay out the two-part or the seeded pot or the savings component of your retirement savings, we actually need a tax directive from SARS. And to be able to get that, we need your tax number. And you're absolutely right. This will not be a process like withdrawing funds from an ATM or transferring funds from one account to another. It'll actually be, if everything goes according to plan and all your affairs with SARS are in order, it will take around a week before you will see the funds in your account. If you have delayed, if you're behind in your tax filings, if you owe SARS money or anything like that, the delay can take very, very long, basically until you sort your issues with SARS out. And of course, if you don't even have a tax number, it will not be possible for you to actually withdraw your savings pot from your pension fund.
Anything you want to add there, Tshepo?
No, I just want to say you've asked about the collaboration as well, and the fact that if it has achieved its intention. I think definitely because it's important for a country like South Africa, where we literally have the two economies. The society is quite fragmented, and sometimes we make certain assumptions that we are moving with everyone else, only to find that there are people that we are leaving behind. And we make certain assumptions. I mean, there are instances when people do road shows and when people ask certain questions, people laugh simply because there has not been adequate information that has actually filtered down. So it is important that we take everyone along and we don't make any certain assumptions, and we make sure that the message is crisp, clear to everyone and allow everyone to ask information. And there's also a threat of misinformation in South Africa. And also, I mean, as a broadcaster, often some so-called expertise who come on board who have their own agendas. So it's important that we get credible experts that can actually be unbiased and be clear to the people without no agenda. to drive the message in the public interest.
And in closing there, Anton, I mean, just a quick message to your numbers, as of course, I suppose you're going to be getting those applications first thing tomorrow.
Yes, now we've prepared as well as we believe we can and should prepare. We've staffed up our call centers. We've got dedicated teams that stand ready to answer questions and applications for access to the savings spot. So tomorrow is going to be an interesting day. We look forward to seeing how this whole thing pans out. And as Tshepo has said, this is going to be a journey. People will start getting familiar with two-part. There will be some tweaks that I believe, I agree with him, some tweaks will be made over time to make sure that the process reaches everyone and that all the intended benefits of this regime will actually be achieved.
And then should the need arise, Anton, have you mitigated and made provisions for some sort of dispute management mechanism should anybody come up with any disputes? For example, if should they complain that, of course, they've been over or undertaxed? Well, I suppose they wouldn't really go and say that they've been undertaxed, but in the event where they feel that basically a lot of money that was meant to go directly to their pocket, of course, has directly gone to SARS.
Clients will not be surprised by the amount. So when you apply for a two-part withdrawal or a savings withdrawal, you will first be provided with a quotation to indicate exactly the amount of tax that will be deducted as per the rules that are being implemented by SARS. And then at that point in time, the member can decide whether he or she wants to proceed with a withdrawal or not. So there will be transparency. It will not be a case of, I expected this money, it's now less, and now I've got a dispute. You will be informed before you press the button to withdraw the savings. Thank
you so much for that clarity. And of course, once again, for entrusting us and collaborating with us. That is Mr. Anton Gildenhuys, the CEO of Sanlam Life and Savings. Tshepo, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we will be continuing with some of these discussions as, of course, promised, we might be getting an official word from SARS in relation to what is going to actually happen to that amount when it comes with a tax directive from SARS.